Now, the firing of these weapons can be used in several different ways. Again, we may have a human wall facing a human wall. The concepts today of a machine gun are not new concepts. Just how they are applied has changed.
Firing by battalion! Battalion! Ready!
Now, imagine today, you could give a soldier or a Marine a squad automatic weapon, a machine gun, and he could put hundreds of rounds down range in a matter of seconds. 150 years ago, that same concept could apply by a single command.
Aim! Fire! Oh!
Same thing. It just took 100 Marines and soldiers to put that 100 rounds down range. But the ultimate end result is the same. What are we doing? We're putting mass lead down range, again, trying to break a hole in the human wall.
Now they're reloading.
Now, a volley fire like this was very, very effective, but it had its drawbacks, so other tactics had to be applied. If you're firing a volley fire, what you've done now, you've totally unloaded your entire line, both front and rear rank. And it's going to take another 20 to 30 seconds to reload and be ready to fire, making your wall vulnerable. So other methods would then apply to be able to keep continuous fire against the enemy.
Anybody in front of the guns? About here, sir. You know what? You're good. I don't apologize. Didn't see you. Anybody from here, back is okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Fire! Oh!
Now we've cut the time in half.
No,
rear rank is firing and immediately start to reload. The battalion commander will now call for the center rank to fire, cutting that time between who is loading and who is firing in half.
Don't argue. Believe me, it's not my rule.
One more and I'm going to get you down there.
Imagine now, again, in the footsteps of these soldiers of the past. You were there with them. You're the one trying to load that musket. With the other side doing the same thing to you that you're trying to do to them. You've experienced the heat of this weekend. These soldiers are out there the same way. And you think back, in retrospect, well, they were lived in the 19th century. They were hardened. They lived outside. No, they were people just like you. Imagine yourself this weekend being thrust in this, put into a wool uniform, coming out of your nice clean home, and having to live into the field, and now all of a sudden, facing your fellow Americans, having to load and fire a musket you may not be completely familiar with while they're trying to kill you as well. Could you do as well as what these people did here 150 years ago?
Cannonball. Well, we're going to see if there's any.
Again, going back to your younger generation, I bet your parents probably telling you need to brush your teeth every day. 150 years ago, it was extremely necessary then. For a soldier to be able to perform his job as an instrument, he had to have at least 2 teeth that met. The technology of the time, the round with the paper cartridge containing a lead ball and the powder to fire the round. To open this, you've got a musket in one hand, you got the round in the other. How are you going to open it? The first thing that would happen, you would physically have to tear the round open with the teeth, pour the powder, and followed by the ball to ram it home. dipler cone that had a hole that lead into the chamber where the powder was now seated. This contained fulminated mercury. Now, when the hammer would strike this, it would be just firing like firing a modern cap today. It would send a spark into the powder, and that was what fired your ball down range.
Fire by battalion! Battalion, ready! Aim! Fire!
Again, last resort is that opposing force gets within yards of you. Before he can charge with his bayonet, you put that devastating fire against him, with the ultimate hope that that human wall charging against you with cold steel would now be broken up and could be dealt with as individuals. The discipline, tightness of the troops, and teamwork was what made the combat effective. But the stealth, or the discipline, and of the individuals, like say the resolve of the individuals and the resolve of the team, is what won the battle. You saw this continually throughout the battle here at 1st Manassas. They were green troops, and they were learning these skills as they went. This battle, in many cases, both Northerners and Southerners, at the end of the day, were not sure who had won and who had lost. What they all knew is now they would enter into a new style of life. Their way of life and the way of thinking had changed, and they were now entering into a long and bloody war. What the men are doing now, like it's 150 years later, we are no longer attempting to kill each other. Like saying, safety standards need to be in place. They're going through now, firing only percussion caps to make sure there's no powder left in the barrels. And they'll spring the rammers to make sure there's no debris or live charges left in the weapon.
Aim! Fire! Shoulder! Arm! Spring! Rammer!
It's over now.
If you can even from here hear that distinct ping, that's a clear indication we have a safe piece. If you hear a thunk, I can guarantee a certain sergeant will probably have a fine time with a certain private.
Company, right? Correct.
Are they all clear?
Front. By the front rank. About. Hey.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude our program, I'd like to leave you with these thoughts. Again, as we talked about, history is not about something that happened in the past. History happens every day. History is us. History is us as a society. We commemorate today what happened here, as we'll be commemorating over the next 4 years what happened with this country 150 years ago. But the importance of that is not what happened then, but what we as Americans today will do with it now. We have made ourselves a better society. We have learned, but only because we've been able to look at the past. Look at what our ancestors did. Look at what each generation sacrificed and how that sacrifice has made it better for you. Each